These are cedar waxwings. Is a bird that's almost always in a group. They're fruit and seed eaters. They're very common in the fall and winter along the Greenway. They fly around in groups looking for the sweetest berry and the nicest fruit they can find. And it's very common to see them in groups of anywhere from 10 to 50 flying around in fairly tight formation looking for the next meal.
Looking to the south and southwest, you see the Siskiyous. You can see and identify many of the prominent terrain features of the Siskiyous from this spot, such as Mount Ashland, the highest point in the Siskiyous at 7,533 feet, Wagner Butte, Anderson Butte, Woodrat Mountain, Wellington Butte, Mount Isabel, and Johns Peak.
I use the Greenway a lot for running. It's just a nice way to get away and not be near the cars. I also use it for biking. It's really quiet and peaceful, and there's a lot of nature. So I like to take my kids down here and see the turtles and all the other critters around.
Here's a group of starlings on top of a dead snag. You can really see the glossy feathers, the really short tail, the long beak, and the streaks. They're also quite good mimics. You'll often hear them mimicking other birds that they hear along the Greenway. This is a typical mourning dove in profile, long, thin, pointed tail, a fairly small head sitting on a pretty robust body. Here's a group of 3 or 4 up in a tree. Again, you can see the profile. They spend a lot of time loafing between meals. They tend to eat seeds and plant material, but you'll often see them feeding on the ground and then nesting in a tree.
About in the middle of the Central Point section of the Greenway Trail, you'll find the SB Wildlife Station, which provides a fine overlook of Mingus Marsh.
This is a pair of female shovelers. They're fairly common wintering birds along the Greenway. They like water where there's plenty of plant matter on top because they feed on the surface and they use those large beaks to filter the good stuff out of the water. This is a pair of pie-billed grebes. They're here all year round. They breed in some of the quieter waters where there's cattails or other kinds of plants along the shoreline where they can build their nests in secret. Quite good divers. Pied-billed grebes eat a lot of small animals that they catch under the water. This is a female widgeon. They come in large flocks in the fall and winter, and you'll see them on almost all the ponds along the Greenway. They have a tiny little squeak they make that sounds almost like a rubber ducky. And when you see a group of them together like this, they're often making noise and talking to each other. These are 4 males. You see the white line down their forehead. That's where they got the name bald pate. That used to be their nickname among hunters.
You can see a muskrat swimming across the pond. This is a stocky, rabbit-sized rodent, an aquatic mammal with partly webbed hind feet and a long, vertical flattened tail used as a rudder.
There's a pair of mallards passing in front of a male gadwall. The mallards are here all year long. The gadwalls are one of the many dabbling ducks that come into the Greenway in the winter. Here's a male mallard moving from right to left, and that's a wood duck that just passed in front of him. On this log, we have a wood duck on the right and a green-winged teal on the left. Both of these ducks are common in the winter. The wood ducks actually breed here, and the green-winged teals come in and stay for the winter. Wood duck just dipped down and took a drink. He's busily preening. This is a great blue heron. They're common along the Greenway all year long. They're one of the chief predators on small fish, crayfish, frogs, small snakes, even mice that they will sometimes catch in the fields. You'll often see them in trees or right along the edge of the water. Here you see the great blue heron on the left and his slightly smaller cousin, the great egret, the white bird on the right. The great egret is pretty common here in the fall and the winter, but they don't breed in the valley as far as we know. But they come north from California breeding grounds and are pretty common here in the fall and the winter. They particularly like quiet water, and you'll see them around ponds and marshes. There's a belted kingfisher. This is a male, and he specializes in catching small fish near the surface of the ponds and the streams. You'll often hear their rattle call up and down Bear Creek any time of the year.
So my husband and I are avid cyclists, and that's how we met, and we've been riding together for a long time, and now that we have kids, we want to share our love of cycling with our kids. So the Greenway is a great place to do that because it's safe.
Well, my wife and I just moved here from Memphis, and we used to go on bicycling dates and have babysitters take care of the kids. But now, since we have this here, we can actually take the kids with us, and that's a very different bicycling experience.
And it's better anyway, because that way we can spend time together as a family instead of leaving them behind.
This is a male lesser goldfinch. These tiny birds are found all along the Greenway all year long.
These are Chinook salmon spawning in the Bear Creek behind Mingus Marsh. The females dig their nests, called reds, by swishing their tails back and forth in the gravel, while the males stand guard. After spawning, both parents will guard the red until they die, which is usually within about 3 weeks after they spawn.
This is a female lesser goldfinch. They're mostly seed and plant eaters. You'll often see them feeding in thistles and weed patches, particularly in late summer and in the fall. They don't migrate out even when it gets cold.
I use the Greenway about 3 days a week for recovery runs and for long runs away from traffic. It's a little more peaceful. I use the new side and the old side about equal. I use it a lot, actually.
This is a sharp-shinned hawk, the smallest of the accipiters. He catches other birds, usually smaller birds like finches.